It has been reported that Darius Slay is going to be traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. I've been preaching that the Philadelphia Eagles go out and sign, trade, do whatever they can to get a number one corner in the building. And Darius Slay is a number one corner and has been for some time. And not only is he a number one corner, but he is a playmaking corner. This guy gets interceptions. He tips down passes. He makes it in the big moment, and he has great ball skills. I mean, if Darius Slay enters the building for Philadelphia, enters the locker room, whatever it may be, he will be the best corner the Eagles have had, in my opinion, since, I don't know, like Asante Samuel. Like, it's been a long time since the Eagles have had a good corner on their team. And one might be slipping my mind right now, but that's seriously what I go back to, is like Asante Samuel. And he's kind of similar to Asante Samuel in terms of the playmaking ability, the ball skills, all of that. But Slay, I mean, he's been a stud over the course of his career. And he's dealt with a little bit more injuries, like being banged up as of late, than in his prime, I would say. He's still kind of in his prime. I mean, he didn't have as great of a year this year as he did like last year or the year before that, but he's still like a number one corner. I would put him in the conversation for one of the 10 to 15 best corners in the game. He's probably a top 10 guy, probably back end top 10, but he didn't have his greatest year last year. I do want to see how him shifting from Patricia's defense into a Eagles defense will change him, or if they're going to play more man coverage with Slay there, if they're going to mix it up a little bit. I know that Schwartz is a guy that is always about, keeping quarterbacks off balance. He loves blitzing. So if you can play man in the secondary, I feel like Schwartz would prefer to play man. It's just the case has been that the Eagles have always been built with Schwartz as their defensive coordinator with great pass rushers and not great corners. So you almost have to wonder if a guy like Slay allows them to be a little bit more aggressive in the pass rush with blitzes, and it allows them to actually lock up number one receivers at times, which has been their biggest difficulty. Locking up Amari Cooper or whoever the number one receiver is, Julio Jones, whoever it is. I mean, they've been torched by number one receivers with consistency, and they've been torched by less than number one receivers with consistency. I mean, at a certain point, you just got to admit that this position is not good enough. Avonte Maddox, Ronald Darby, Jalen Mills, Rasul Douglas, Crevon LeBlanc. These guys have not been getting it done well enough for the Eagles as number one corners or even number twos. Now, I think what this move would impact the most is once you get that number one corner, it changes your defense. I say this consistently, but I think a number one shutdown corner, which I don't know if Slay's a shutdown guy. He can be in certain matchups, depending on the receiver he's playing. But as a number one corner, adding that number one legitimate number one, which the Eagles legitimately don't have a number one, and they haven't for the past 3, 4, 5 seasons. So by adding the legitimate number one, it moves your number one to your number two. It moves your number two to your number three. It puts a guy that maybe was on the outside in the slot at the nickel. It allows matchups better, whether that's man, zone, whatever, just pure physical matchups. You can do more by adding that number one corner. You can take away a number one receiver with just Slay, or you could put Slay on the number two and double the number one. You can do a lot of different things. You have that flexibility with Slay now in your secondary that the Eagles just haven't had. And I think that's going to be a huge difference maker for the Eagles. And it would be nice to see if they added a linebacker or two. They might do that in the draft. They still have the front seven to get after the quarterback, and even more so now. I mean, adding Hargrave is going to be awesome for their front. But they have the pass rush. They now have the number one corner. This defense is going to get a lot better overnight when Darius Slay enters the building because, like I said, that number one corner affords you to do so much on defense, even in the run game, right? If you could play just a little bit more man and are not worried about getting beat over the top as much, you can stack the box and get after the run if you really need to, which The Eagles are in a situation where they have Fletcher Cox and Hargrave in the middle, so teams aren't running up the middle. So, the Eagles defense is built for a top 10 unit at the very least. They have potential. If they can add linebackers, I think they're really looking good on defense. And we'll see what they do offensively, receiver-wise, all of that. But I love this move. Going to Darius Slay as a player. Now, I said he had a down year last year. PFF would agree. He did not grade well from PFF. He only ranked 83rd from PFF. He did deal with some injuries, played 858 snaps, which is less than typical for him. He played 14 games, had 2 interceptions. He did have 13 passes defense and a fumble recovery. He had 46 tackles on the season. Looking at his advanced stats, he allowed 52 completions on 93 targets, which is 55.6 completion. He allowed 694 yards to his coverage, only 3 touchdowns. And like I said, he had 2 interceptions. So he had 2 interceptions and only 3 touchdowns allowed. He had an 81.6 passer rating, which not great in the NFL today. So when looking at his advanced stats, it looks a lot better than what PFF graded him at and looks still like an elite corner. In 2018, he was a Pro Bowler again. He was Pro Bowler in 2019 as well. 2018, 15 games, 3 interceptions. He allowed 6 touchdowns, but he only allowed 520 yards on 46.8 completion, which is really good. He allowed 403 air yards, which is even more impressive, and a 72.1 passer rating. So 72.1 passer rating. 2018 was a great season for Darius Slay. 2017, he led the NFL in interceptions with 8. He had 26 passes defense, which led the league. And 26 is absurd. Anything over 20 is really, really, really good. 26, like deflections, bat downs, breakups, that's insane. Like 26, 60 tackles. I don't know if that's just because teams are targeting him a lot. Like, that's weird. Like 26. He has an incredible ability to make quarterbacks, like bait quarterbacks into throws. It's the same thing that Stephon Gilmore does. Like, give up a little bit of space so that you can bait them into the throw, and that's exactly why he had 8 interceptions. Like, this is a guy that not only is a man-to-man corner and an island corner, but he can also be a guy to take the ball away, and that's exactly what he showed in that 2017 All-Pro season. 2016, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 44 tackles. He was a Pro Bowler in 2017, 18, and 19. I think he really came on the scene in 2016, but even before that, he was showing some promise. Starting all 16 games for the team from 2014 on. So Slay, he's been one of the best corners in the league for a while. He's going to continue to be that. And like I said, he's going to give this defense such flexibility, scheme versatility, and just, I can't even explain it, like what a number 1 corner will do for this defense, because we haven't seen it with the Eagles. And you Eagles fans are going to finally understand the value of a corner on your friggin' team. Because no longer are you going to see your number 1 guy get burnt like toast for 60 yards by Amari Cooper. By the way, he's played very well versus Amari Cooper in his career, which is huge because that's a division rivalry. That's my opinion on Darius Slay. I love the move if it ends up actually going through. I'm not sure the compensation, but as long as it's not like a first-round pick, I think this is a good trade for the Eagles, who are a team that are looking to win right now. So I like it.